Hello YouTube, I've just received my package this morning, so I'm just going to unbox. It's the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, and I will explain a little bit about why I'll be getting rid of my fold. Nothing sinister, it's all good, but I'll give you my explanation. Let's just open this first. Okay. So it's got an open bit there that I'm going to pull. I think I'm going under there seems to be great as well. So there we go. Okay, we got some paperwork. Put that to one side. More paper. I've not seen this used before. It's all like recyclable material. And then here's a box. Let's just check that there's nothing else in there. So nothing else, we can get rid of the box. Okay. So here we are, and just comparing to the Fold, you can see the difference in size of the box there. There we go. So we're going to open the box and then compare the actual devices. Okay, here we go. So what comes in the box? There's nothing there. Usually there's documentation at the top, but it's not there. So it's probably underneath. So we get the device out, and then we get all the documentation and hopefully a USB cable in here. Yeah. So there's a USB cable type C and the documentation as well in there. So let's put that to one side. Okay, so that's the box, that's the device. The other thing I just wanted to talk about, I think I mentioned in my earlier videos when I was talking about people wanting to buy chargers, and I said you better future-proof yourself. So if you were getting a charger when the S21 Ultra came out, or when Samsung really stopped giving us any of these, I was suggesting that you need to get a 45-watt brick, because at the time as well I was using it to charge my Surface Book 2. It's got its proprietary here, but it's also got USB-C. But what I really wanted to do is to kind of put it side by side with this Fold device here. So one of the things that you can see is that obviously it will be wider. And I'll talk about this when I talk about one of the disadvantages of the Fold. Obviously you can open the Fold, but we'll come to that. And the other thing is, obviously, I'm going to say the Fold is probably going to be heavier. Here we go. So as far as I'm aware, the Fold device is 50 grams or so heavier. So 50 grams is something like a watch. So the weight of this is similar to this plus the watch. So it is a little bit on the bulky side. So before we actually talk about this, let me just go into the Fold a little bit, because I want to talk about something I don't see many YouTubers mention. So a lot of people talk about the this camera setup compared to the S21 Ultra, but they seem to mention these as if it's the first time we've seen them on a Samsung device, whereas you can clearly see here that the it's not a crack, by the way, there's something on the screen here. So you know, I immediately recognized when I saw these that the setup is similar to this, and I can see that you know, they've probably gone with this and added a few more cameras there, because obviously the Fold has got cameras within and cameras at the front. They didn't need to put them all in the back here, but I think this thinking came from what they were doing here, and of course other manufacturers already doing stuff like this. So that's what I wanted to talk about in terms of just cameras. I think that it was inspired by what they did here than what they did on the S21 Ultra, which they had a housing. Let me see if I can show you the note. So if you remember, the camera on the Note 20 Ultra was like that, similar to S21. So what seems to happen is that there was cameras already in there, like we have, but they had a single glass cover on the top, and that's great if you want to protect your cameras. Actually, I did this video to show replacing this glass. So what had happened is the glass had been affected, but the cameras hadn't been. So that's one thing you need to consider with this setup, is that you don't want to damage this glass, because obviously replacing that would be tricky and expensive. So this was a better setup for me, because obviously the glass would protect all cameras in one, and if something happened to the glass, I could just remove the glass and put another one on there. So let's talk about the Fold quickly. I don't want to spend too long on it. So one of the things that you see is obviously it cut, and I talked about this in my first impressions of the Fold. The front screen is where you do most of your work. If you have a Fold, you wouldn't have it open all the time. So the only time I found myself using it more when it's open is when I was off work and I was watching YouTube videos, and I was doing all sorts of things on there, using other apps that I use usually like this. So I might be using eBay, I might be using some cryptocurrency apps. All of that I could do open, or I could be using Match by Amazon, where I sell Match. I could do that all with the device open, and I could, you know, the only disadvantage with having the device open for too long is battery. You will actually notice at the top there. So when I'm playing Fortnite, for example, and I've got the device open, you will be able to see the battery percentage drop while you play. It's that quick, because it's a big screen. A game is so demanding, battery won't last. So it's not unusual if I'm off work to charge this 2 or 3 times in a day. So that's one thing that I find is an issue with the Fold, is that if you're going to use it with the way it's intended, it consumes a lot more power. But also if you use it like this, you can see that it's too narrow, so the words are actually not on the same line. You know, face, then book is at the bottom, messenger is at the bottom, like that. And I think Samsung should have done that out of the box to just make sure that it's condensed a little bit. I'll show you another example with reminders. Let me just open reminders here. So if I have if I'm trying to set a reminder and I get to the time like this, you see I can't actually see AM and PM here. I have to kind of do that. I do this with a lot of apps where I can't actually fit stuff on the screen, so that's what ends up happening. The other thing I talked about is that if you have these types of phones, your main screen is there, you know, and we know that this is gonna refresh from 1 Hz to 120, I think, whereas this is probably 60 to 120. Correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe it was the S21 Ultra, but this is going to have much more range, so it will save power, which is something you need on here. I can't remember whether it's on the Fold, but if it is, then yeah, stand corrected, but I think this is the one that's coming with it. Do I think the Fold is a bad device? Not at all. Does it beat the S22 Ultra? Now, if you know from my previous videos, is that I am a Note fan, so I always like the Note. And they've just done the one thing that I had been asking for on the actual Fold itself. If the Fold had an S Pen that fits into it, not that separate Fold edition or the S Pen Pro that I've got as well. In fact, I've not used the S Pen Pro at all. It's just too bulky. it's just, you know, I don't have anywhere to carry it on here. So I use the S Pen, but I haven't been able to on the Fold. That's another disadvantage. So what I'm trying to say essentially is I think I'm gonna prefer the S22 Ultra because it's got the S Pen that goes in, but also it's less heavy, less bulky, and it will definitely have more power at the end of the day than I do with the Fold, because once you open the Fold and start doing stuff open, it definitely will consume more power. And if you try and use this screen, as you can see, everything kind of tries to fit in, but it's quite narrow. I mean, you could try to even look at videos and things like that. So if we have a video here and do that, you can, you know, I mean, you can blow it up like that, but it's not a good experience in terms of trying to watch that. So I think you will end up having to open it. And if you do that, like this, turn it around, you have a much better experience, but then this will consume power. So you've got to kind of have a choice around this. I mean, if I could afford both devices, I would certainly keep both devices. I prefer to have the S22 Ultra as the main device, and then the Fold when I need to flex and when I need to do stuff with the open screen. So when I'm browsing on the websites, it's easier on a big screen like this, and when I'm watching video, movies and things like that. But this is not a small screen for that kind of thing. It's big enough as well, and it contains all the stuff I need on the phone. So I just wanted to share my thoughts. It's been great having the Fold. The crease hasn't got any worse since I got this. I got this at launch, and I've been using it as my main device since. One of the other things I was just going to point out is so when you put these cases on, so you see with a normal phone, when you put a case on, it kind of goes at the back and then it folds at the sides. It doesn't encroach on the screen itself, but that's what seems to happen here with this type of thing. This goes on the screen, the part of the cover actually touches the screen. What that means is that sometimes the touches are not recognized when you're touching the screen. I certainly think it's because of this, and sometimes I'm unable to move my, I think I'll do it this time because I'm you know, I'm conscious that I need to do it. So you see this fold, the side thing, if you're just doing it quickly without thinking, sometimes you miss it because there is the cover encroaching on the screen. But that's because you can't have the back of this as the back of the cover, because it's another screen, whereas this, you can have the cover mainly at the back and then it holds the sides. Here it has to encroach on the screen to be able to stand there, otherwise there's nowhere else to hold. So that's another slight disadvantage here of the Fold. But I think the next one just needs to come with an S Pen that goes in, improve the under display camera maybe. I would say it needs to be a little bit wider. So, you know, not to be so slim and narrow, it needs to be a little bit wider. And the most important thing would be it needs bigger battery. So that's about the Fold, and that's what I wanted to share, and some of the reasons why I'll be trading it in for, or why I'll be selling this and keeping the S22 Ultra. Early videos I've seen, and I don't know if these people are using the retail unit, are showing a slight decline in battery life. So I've seen some battery tests and some comparisons, and the S21 Ultra is doing better. And I just think probably they're not using the retail unit, or they're not, it's not been optimized with updates and software yet. That doesn't put me off. In fact, I think it will do much better, although I don't think it will beat the power that the iPhone 13 Pro, I think it is, you know, the one I'm talking about, that's been blowing all the records around battery life. I think this won't beat that. So that's it. We'll do more videos in future, but I just wanted to share. Since I received this, I got excited, and now that I've unboxed it, I can charge it and then start using it. and then catch up with further videos. Thank you very much. Have a great day.